What is comparative politics? Comparative politics is the study of the domestic politics, political institutions, and conflicts of countries. It is the study and appraisal of domestic politics across countries. Comparative politics has a long and very eminent history dating back just before the origin of systematic political studies in ancient Greece and Rome. Comparative government studies were used by political researchers to get correct and valid conclusions regarding the nature and organization of state and government. The phrase political science is closely associated with word politics, which is derived from the Greek word polis. It means a city-state, the general form of political organization in ancient Greece. The study of political science in the Western tradition is first noticeable in ancient Greece. The discipline had many aspects such as moral philosophy, political economy, history, and other fields concerned with normative determinations and with inferring the characteristics and functions of the perfect state. Political science is normative because it deals with the theory of the state. It is theoretical in orientation. The beginning of political science as a university discipline is apparent in 1860s by the naming of university departments, and heads with the title of political science. Integrating political studies of the past into a combined discipline is constant, and the history of political science has provided a rich field for the development of both normative and positive. Political science with each part of the discipline sharing some historical precursors. The American Political Science Association was initiated in 1903 as an effort to distinguish the study of politics from economics and other social sciences. In the decade of 1950s and the 1960s, a behavioral uprising stressing the systematic and meticulously scientific study of individual and group behavior swept the discipline. At the same time, the political science moved toward greater depth of analysis and more sophistication. It also moved toward a closer working relationship with other relationships, especially sociology, economics, history, anthropology, psychology, and statistics. Gradually, behavioralism have used the scientific method to create an intellectual discipline based on the postulating of hypotheses, followed by empirical verification and the inference of political drifts and of generalizations that explain individual and group. Political actions. Since the beginning of 1970s, with the advent of post-behavioralism, the discipline has placed an increasing emphasis on relevance, or the use of new approaches and methodologies to solve political and social problems. Eurocentrism has been the greatest challenge to comparative politics. Do you agree? How has the disciple responded to this criticism? Eurocentrism refers to the application of values and theories from Europeans' culture and tradition to other groups or people, implying a biased or distorted viewpoint. It is often viewed as a challenge to discipline of comparative politics, which is an attempt to cross-cultural examination of politics. Political theorists like Fred Dallmayr and Anthony Perel claimed in the 1990s that even though the contemporary age is marked by globalization, the theoretical framework in politics derives almost exclusively from Euro-American intellectual and cultural legacies. According to Takashi Shogumin, despite its declared combat against Eurocentrism, comparative political theory is Eurocentric, which, AQ to him, is self-contradictory because the genesis of the discipline of comparative lies in the dissatisfaction with the political theorizing practiced in Euro-American academic world. However, despite the hegemony of political categories of European origin in contemporary political discourse, politics is a universal human activity, and the ways in which politics is conceptualized are culturally and temporally diverse. This forced comparative politics to incorporate other culture conception of politics to expand the horizons of political theorizing beyond Euro-American framework. According to Shogumin, the anti-Eurocentric movement in the field of comparative politics has been gaining momentum since the dawn of the 21st century. This movement is evident in emergence of diverse and relevant political discourse as different from Eurocentric concepts, such as Islamic political thought, Chinese political thought, Indian political thought as new field of politics inquiry. Rise of Occidentalism and Asian values are also seen as response of comparative politics to Eurocentrism and Orientalism. This is based on the idea that absence of diverse discourse is a cause of reduction in comparative politics. Relevance of comparative politics. There are several reasons for relevance of comparative politics in political analysis. Some broader ones emerge like to improve political understanding by allowing self to learn about other countries while escaping the ethnocentric fallacy generally assumed. Some Western country may have a good government, but it is not necessarily a perfect government. Certain countries may have aspects of their own government that one could learn from and perhaps improve upon their own system. Another reason to compare countries is to understand how countries evolve, discover patterns, and why they evolve in the way they do. Another very important reason to study comparative politics is to better understand how certain regimes work for purposes of international relations and foreign policy. In order to create policy regarding other countries, and in order to give aid to these countries, one must know how these countries function so that one can work with the countries instead of blindly trying to change them in a way that one seems fit. The major objective was to discover the historical and legal similarities and dissimilarities among the various governments and their political institutions. It can be traced as bad as Aristotle's theory of constitution. We are wondering if 8 constitutions were compared and given elaborate analysis. This was traditional approach where area of research was constitution of Western nations, as non-West generally included colonies. However, gradually when such colonies started to gain independence, emergence of socialism, communalism, fascism, interdisciplinary nature emerged, which made traditional methods unsuitable and showed numerous flaws in understanding. Traditional methods were essentially non-competitive with only few features to compare. The understanding received was parochial or ethnocentric and largely static. According to R.C. McKirod's in Study of a Survey of Comparative Government, he talked about 4 major shortcomings of traditional methods, namely single culture configuration, excessively formalistic in approach, descriptive, rather than problem-solving, and essentially non-comparative.